Hello, my name is Miles Wilson, and this is our presentation on the Ocean Conservatory Carnival project. To start off our project objective, this project is meant to raise money for the La Jolla Marine Life Protection Organization that helps to protect, study, and rehabilitate marine life in Southern California. In order to raise money and achieve our goal of protecting marine life, we will host a local carnival where all proceeds will go to the La Jolla Marine Life Protection Organization. Additionally, we will try to get carnival vendors to participate for free so that money donated is maximized. The vendors will have the incentive to do so as they'll gain exposure for more business. Additionally, we will enlist the help of La Jolla Marine Life Protection Organization volunteers to help run the carnival and preach their cause to carnival attendees. Next, a little bit about the La Jolla Marine Life Protection Organization. As I mentioned before, they help protect, study, and rehabilitate marine life in Southern California. They also help protect from contaminants in the ocean and to educate the public about marine life. Our project scope. To start, we'll plan dates and possible venues for the carnival. We will also get in touch with representatives from the La Jolla Marine Life Protection Organization in order to create an advertisement and promotional letter to previous donors. Our minimum pledge amount will be set at $10 with an incentivized sponsorship deal at $250, but our goal will be to raise at least $5,000. The sponsorship deal will allow for larger donors to have their companies advertise on carnival signs and games. At this point, we will also start contacting local food and carnival vendors to try to sell them on the event. Next, our justification. Our justification for choosing this cause is really because this can help so many aspects of our community and our local environment. If this organization is able to prosper, it allows for our community beaches to stay and an ocean to stay pristine and beautiful. Additionally, it will help us stay healthy when we indulge in beach activities and keep our ocean safe. Finally, this organization can help keep global warming effects at bay and keep ocean environments living and breathing. This cause is so important because they also help to educate the general public about better marine safety and protection. Finally, a little bit on our lessons learned. So we learned that time management is essential to forward progress and success within a team and project. With 5 different conflicting schedules, it's not a small feat to find time to all meet together in an attempt to help each other and become a more cohesive team. Our second lesson learned was that setting deadlines for ourselves is super important, and without setting them, it's super difficult to understand what work is going to be done and how quickly. We learned that by setting deadlines for teamwork and individual work that we could get things done more efficiently and effectively. Thank you.
All right, hello, my name is Gabriel Fields, and I'll be presenting the major deliverables, major milestones, and major technical requirements for this project. The first major deliverable that I have to include is the theme. We've gone with an aquatic theme to match our organization's main focus. That is marine life in La Jolla. The next thing is the venue. We've chosen the Birch Aquarium at Scripps Institution of Oceanography as a partner because of their local popularity and the similar values and interests that they have. Next thing is the infrastructure. For this, it will include games, rides, a music stand, and the booths for food vendors and ticket sales. Last thing will be finances. This project will be financed by community members giving to invest in the environment, the Scripps Institute, and ticket sales in general. I can't fail to include the stakeholders of those deliverables, which will include the Scripps Aquarium itself, UCSD volunteer groups, and local food vendors. The next thing will be major milestones. The first major milestone will include securing finances. This project would be impossible without that finance. The next thing would be obtaining safety permits. This would include fire safety, earthquake safety, and more. Next should be infrastructure rental. We would have to rent games and civil ride services. Next thing, and probably the longest milestone, will include the advertising campaign. This will just work to get the word out for our project. Next thing will be hiring workers and volunteers. We will use UCSD volunteers and food vendors. The last thing will be setting up and hosting our event over 2 weekends. And then following that will be closure of our project. Next will be the major technical requirements. This will include access to venue, which would be things like parking availability, safety of infrastructure for the rides and the music stand. Next would be on-site facilities for things like the restrooms, And lastly, would be energy sources to power the event.
Hi, I'm Josette Odgers, and I'll be presenting the limits and exclusions as well as the acceptance criteria. For limits and exclusions, it's important to note that this is a fundraising event, and therefore we are not trying to host a large and extravagant event that will break our budget. We need to ensure that the event will be fun for our audience, and so we are planning on having booths with games, food vendors, and lots of activities. We have to consider the cost of those items, however, because we want to make a profit of at least $5,000. We are hopeful that some vendors may choose to work the event for the purpose of positive exposure and receiving more business. However, we are understanding that some may choose not to. So at that point, we'll need to make the decision of if the cost is really worth paying. Another area where limitations are applied were the venue. As this event is in the support of Scripps Institute of Oceanography and their ocean conservation attempts, we had the desire to host the event at La Jolla Shores. In being realistic with our limitations and exclusions, however, we realized that hosting such a large carnival at the beach could be counterproductive to our cause. Because of this, we have decided to host the event at the Birch Aquarium. Here, we will be able to be accountable of any trash that gets dropped or left behind. Lastly, in advertising the carnival, we do not want to go over budget. Therefore, advertisements for our events will have to be cost effective. We will advertise mostly through social media. Next, we have the acceptance criteria. We would like to host the event at the Birch Aquarium. Prior to finalizing this venue, however, we need to get an idea of the amount of people that will be in attendance. Predicting the size of our event and the amount of guests we intend to have is very important in this planning process. With the infrastructure for the carnival, we need to ensure that we have fun, family-friendly games that are safe for everyone. We need to negotiate with vendors prior to booking them to decide on the cost of booking them in order to ensure that we are not spending too much on hosting the event. We need the agreements between us and the vendors to be laid out in a written agreement prior to the event so that there is no confusion regarding how much we will be paying them. The purpose of this event is to raise money for the La Jolla Marine Life Protection Organization. Therefore, we cannot afford to break our budget on the decor and infrastructure. The same goes for the band we hire and the construction crew for setup and cleanup. We plan to do this by setting these budget parameters prior to booking all of these expenses.
Hello, my name is Frank, and I was charged of planning and execution, risk assessment, and a little bit of the work breakdown structure. So for planning, we were basically trying to figure out what would be our main method of communication. And with that, we came with the conclusion of using Zoom. And with that, after our first brainstorm session on Zoom, we came up with the event of the La Jolla Marine Life Protection Organization Carnival, which would be to raise funds in order to, take care of our beaches and our oceans and along the lines of that. Also with this, we decided that work would be divided among the group evenly, and we would always review the work done before actually proceeding on to the next step. And with that, we had the execution phase, which is where most people did the work. As you can see on the slide, you can see what other group members were part of. For example, Miles was part of project objective, project scope description, Gabe with the deliverables, milestones, Jojo with the limits and exclusion, risk assessment, myself with the work breakdown structure, plan and execution, risk assessment, Manuel with the work breakdown structure, project network, etc. So this is how the work was directly assigned with everyone and how we kind of built off that. And with that, we have our risk assessment. As you can see, I've listed out 4 different risks that could potentially happen within our project. To just go over a brief 1 or 2. One of them would be sponsors dropping out. Obviously, within our project scope description, we were looking for sponsors who would fill in the gap for us and kind of sponsor the event and get that kind of advertising going for us. So obviously, let's say a sponsor drops out and we're going to have to need a backup of other sponsors who would be willing to fill in that gap. So having that backup plan will definitely work out for us and making sure that we're always staying on task and we don't get concussed by any other type of risk.
Okay, so basically it underwent multiple iterations. The second level is based on the milestones, where a third level is a further breakdown of the milestones. And if this isn't specific enough, we also did a 4th level. Here we have the BBS. It's composed of finances, venue, games, and the theme. Whereby the finances is about the costs, investors, and the entrance fee. The venue is the Script Aquarium, where we have live music, we need building of structures and food of drinks. For the games, we have workers and volunteers, and then the actual games themselves. And then for the theme, we have advertisement and the decoration. Next up is the cost estimate, which is based on the tasks of the VBS. Here on the right-hand side, we see a table with cost estimates, which is either the second level milestones, like the games, or still further broken down, like the themes, into advertisement and decorations. It totals to $3,100. Our target donations is $5,000. Therefore, having an entrance fees of $10, we would need roughly 800 visitors to achieve these goals and 310 visitors to break even. Then there's the project network, which is also based on the milestones and the work breakdown structures. The total duration is roughly 7 months, and we took 25 days for 1 month, excluding the weekends. It starts with a kickoff and then splits up into themes and venue and the finances. And then we have a 1 month period to get the government's approval while we can think about games, which takes only 14 days. And then we have a 3-month period after the government permits, where we do the advertising and the hiring. And at the end, we have 2 weeks to set up the location.
The last thing I want to touch on are the major lessons that this project team learned over the course of the quarter. I think one of the biggest things we learned was how to communicate during an online era. We successfully overcame this obstacle by having strict meeting times and early on choosing what platforms would be best to communicate on. We did that through Discord and Zoom.
And with that, I have 2 lessons that we all as a team have learned. One of them was supporting one another. And with supporting one another, it was make sure that we always supported each other with the work doing, especially if we were getting overwhelmed with other stuff, other tasks, as well as just classes or life. Making sure we have that support creates that fundamentally positive group environment, and also giving praise whenever we finished our work. Making sure that we gave praise to one another, finishing work definitely increased the team's morale and definitely made us more productive.
Patience and understanding was another big takeaway that we had from this project. We realized that we all have other things going on in our lives outside of this project. And so while we had set some deadlines or some meeting times, we understand that there might be occurrences when something interferes and people might need extensions. At the end of the day, we got the work that we needed to done, and we were able to do it by being understanding that our group members might need extra time to get the assignment done. Another lesson that we learned was trust. Trusting one another was really important in this process. We broke the assignment up and delegated roles to one another in order to get the project done. While we did read through and check our group members' work, it was really important that we trusted one another to get our own work done correctly and before the deadlines that we had set.
Our lessons learned, we learned that time management is essential for good progress. So we had sometimes issues with finding a schedule where we are all free to meet up together. But with good time management, at the end, we always find a time slot where we had all were free, and everyone was quite flexible. And also, it was important to set deadlines, as we often met in the meetings, but then worked alone on each assigned task. Therefore, we had deadlines, and we communicated to each other if we can make the deadline or if we already finished before. And this was a great lesson learned. Then also we had to use quite a lot of technology. For example, we didn't met in person, but used Zoom. And we also use Google Slides, that we can all work on the same PowerPoint or Word document at the same time. And at the end, also creating the video, we had some starting difficulty, but at the end, we managed it very well. Then also we encountered cultural differences, as I am from Germany. And I guess we got all along quite well. And we also learned how to communicate effectively.